let's talk about the Mellotron in Genesis music, which was only in the 70s. The earliest Mellotron that Tony Banks used, was the Mark II, which was the dual manual one. What I read on the internet is true. They rented King Crimson's, which means the two manual Mellotron that you see on the early albums was the same one used on In the Court of the Crimson King, which is pretty cool. And that had a huge library compared to what the M400 was. The M400 was the squat white box that probably popped up around Selling England by the pound. Although I've seen some pictures recently of Lamb sessions, and you see a Mark II. And then he had some white models. Check out the contemporary keyboard articles from 76 and 78, where he talks about different models that he's gotten and what he likes about them and what he doesn't. And then the last one in 78, that one was black, I believe, or a dark wood color. And what was in those M400s were only the 3 sounds, because it could hold a maximum of 3 sounds. There were the 3 violins, 8 choir, and brass. So right here I have pulled up, I have the Mark II violins in this instrument, and then M400 violins. I have a theory. Here's the Mark II violins. Here's the M400 violins. Same tape recording, different EQ. So I bet Tony Banks ordered his Mellotrons, his M400s, from Streetly Electronics, and they threw in this version of the library, and he was like, that doesn't sound like the Mark II. And that's why you see the 10-band EQ pedal in equipment lists and pictures for the Mellotron. I think he probably EQ'd the M400 to sound more like this. I think we can all agree maybe that this is the sound we know and love. So if you have a Mellotron digital library, look up Mark II violins, and that's one of the sounds. The other sounds that were used, like I said, were the 8 choir. Mellotron choirs are tricky because they have like boys choir, female voices, male voices. The 8 choir mixes the male and female voices. Now, what is really weird about this and has messed me up, I put in the comments of my Los Endos video that once I listened to the early 80s versions where he's using the string synth, the vocoder, I can finally hear the inversions he's playing. But on the Mellotron, so here's the highest note on the Mellotron. Check this out. I mean, the voices kind of overlap, so you could be doing a first inversion sounds like a second inversion. Okay, so that's pretty weird. I think I thought Los Endos was this. Oh no, sorry. And it's really this. Right? D flat, what do you want to call that? D flat augmented root position, and then it's sounds the same first inversion. So that's kind of weird, right? And then the third sound he had was the famous Mark II brass. Where is it? As heard on her Satanic Majesty's Request, Rolling Stones. That's kind of the famous one, King Crimson. There's also a ton of brass sounds, and it's easy to get them mixed up. In the Mellotron library, some solo instruments, some other layers. So this sound was in the Mellotron, so whenever they would do Supper's Ready, it was there. Because it features mainly in Supper's Ready. Now, you'll hear the flute sound in things like Epping Forest and Lily White Lilith. But, where is it? Right? That's the famous sound. But live, he played those parts on the organ. So, you listen to stuff from the Selling England by the Pound tour and the Lamb tour and listen to those songs, and there's organ. Why didn't he do the flutes? Because they were in the Mark II. So, however faithful you want to be, that's kind of how that goes. Now, I'm going to work backwards with effects. Hopefully this works. So on the 77 and 78 tour, he had a Roland Space Echo, which is a tape delay and a spring reverb. And he had two of them, one for the Pro Soloist and one for the Mellotron. You can see it in pictures. So I'll turn this on. There we go. I didn't try to match anything. I'm just kind of showing you guys, a way that he may have done it. Let's go back to the string sound. Now, another part of the sound, which I don't have set up, is a volume pedal to swell in, and then you use the delay to get out of it. So it sounds more like a pad. Now, yeah. Whoops. There we go. You could do that, but then every sound has that, right? So let me fix that. So I just prefer to use a good old note on, note off ADSR envelope and then do it. Get out of it with the effects, get into it with the volume pedal. So this is how it would have been on the 77 and 78 tour. Before that, he had instead, let me get out of here and change this to, we'll do it this way. So before the Space Echo, he had an Echoplex. I had to edit some stuff out. I was having some trouble switching these effects around. All right, so here now is the Echoplex model and Amplitube, which replaced the Space Echo. So let's hear what this sounds like. That's more of a slapback. Turn the sustain up. Maybe get more repeats, quicker repeats. That's pretty cool. If we turn it up too much, you get in a whole lot of love territory. So probably throughout the, like when he got the M400, at least there was the Echoplex. Also another Echoplex for the Pro Soloist. And the other thing that was going on was the Leslie. So let's get another Let's get this in the bus. I'm going to get a Leslie 147 amp and a cabinet. And I have it in the bus because from what I could take from those keyboard interviews, front of house got the Mellotron Direct, which still would have been coming through the Echoplex, and some of it was routed through the Leslie. So let's see how this works. There we go. That sounds pretty cool. So no Leslie, just Echoplex, and now a mix of dry and wet. Why am I putting the Leslie in the bus? Because if you were doing this all digitally, you would want your organ 100% wet through the Leslie simulator, and you would want your Pro Soloist sounds and your Mellotron sounds kind of a mix of dry and wet. That's what it sounds like to me. So there you go. Now, that's it for the signal flow. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I do it this way. So turn those off. Okay. I have, I think Amplitude 5 is really cool because it literally has all these effects. My favorite digital Mellotron is this one, GeForce M-Tron-Pro. It's actually the first plugin I ever bought, going back 15 years ago or so, the original version of M-Tron. And it's really cool to have that white keyboard, right? There, a couple companies make them. There's the Scandinavian country that owns Mellotron now. There's a German company that has something called Mellotron. And it looks cool, but I don't think they sound as good as this plugin. There's tons of plugins too, sample libraries, third-party libraries for samplers. Some of them come with Logic or MainStage. You can get the Mellotron official library through Nord. This is my favorite one, and I'll tell you why. And this is kind of what inspired me to make the video. There's a sale this week, early October 2021, where GeForce is selling all of these libraries in a package on sale. I had to pick these up one by one as they were released. And Streetly was the company that made the Mellotrons, and they duplicated the tapes and they created custom libraries. And they're still in existence. They just don't own the name Mellotron. So GeForce and Streetly, these are direct. So if you had a Mellotron and you ordered new tapes, these are the direct samples of those. So there's some things like the Mellotron library, I think even Sampletron, which are from other people's Mellotrons. Again, that's pretty cool. You get the signal flow and the preamp and all that stuff. But these, you can really sculpt everything the way you want. Not quick like I just did for this video. And I just want to show you where they are. So volume 1 is the A choir. Volume 2 is the Mark II violins. Volume 3 is the Mark II brass. Volume 4 has Steve Hackett's voice of Nicam. Isn't that cool? Let's listen to it. I forget how that song goes, but that sounds like it. So I think this is a very cool plugin, and it can get pricey as you're collecting them. I mean, I got all them when they released on sale, but if you act now, you get all of these. There's like a special effects thing. You get some like Doctor Who, Quatermass type sounds. And then, but the original M-Tron library is still pretty cool. And you get a lot of different stuff. Look, Genesis split. So I think the best bang for your buck, if you really love Mellotrons, this is the coolest library out there by far. Look at that. You get the vocoder choir too. So I know this wasn't that exciting, but I get asked about it, so I figure I'd let you guys know. If you have M-Tron-Pro and Amplitude, I think that's the best bet, but you can make these sounds with any old Mellotron samples, as long as you have Mark II brass, Mark II violins, Mark II flutes, and a choir.